All right, well, welcome back to afternoon session. Our next speaker is Jeff Sly, who is the system architect behind the monitoring implementation at NewSkin Enterprises, and it is a $1.6 billion company that spans 53 countries. And at NewSkin, they had the unique challenge of consolidating multiple monitoring platforms across their worldwide data centers. So Jeff's going to talk about their experience with that. Let's give Jeff a hand.
There we go. This is a great conference, and Nagios is a great product. We love it. We're thankful to work with the Nagios team. Let's see if this works. So who's in the audience? I just wanted to understand a little bit, how many of you are currently using Nagios in production, by show of hands? Okay. How many are looking to expand or increase your Nagios installation or set up a new installation for the first time? All right, and how many are using Nagios XI versus Nagios Core? Nagios XI, 1, 2, 3, 4, and Nagios Core, and who doesn't know what they're using? Well, thank you. That just helps me a little bit. A little bit about NewSkin. NewSkin is a direct selling organization. We sell products, lotions, cosmetics. Your wife probably has heard of the cosmetics side. It's kind of an upscale Avon kind of a thing. Also vitamins and supplements. Later this month we'll have a conference in Salt Lake City with 13,000 distributors at it. So anyway, that's a little bit about NewSkin. Our technology footprint at NewSkin consisted, as we began this case study, we have a homegrown e-commerce system. We started e-commerce in 1996. So we've been doing online web ordering since '96, and there wasn't really much out there at that time. Most of our stuff today is based on Java and Oracle, but we do have .NET and MySQL and Microsoft SQL and Windows and Sun and HP Unix and all kinds of other stuff. We've got data centers in 6 countries and offices in 50. We actually do business in, I think, 53 countries. Our monitoring goals are probably pretty similar to your monitoring goals if we get at a high enough level. Monitoring was supposed to present our operations with a completely global integrated view of what was going on all our systems. And if something was down or out, they were supposed to know. Good monitoring is proactive. It helps teams prevent problems before they become an outage instead of just saying, hey, the system is now down. And good monitoring helps minimize outage time so that we quickly identify the root cause of an outage, not just these 5 things are not working, but this is the one that causes these 5 things to not work. So we wanted a centralized monitoring system. This is not ours. This is just some nice picture I found. We tried for 10 years, and our monitoring history was a failure, and most of it was a failure because we got distracted. We would start with these big, grandiose ideas, and we would lose our sponsorship, or the project would go over, or some guy would quit, or whatever else. And so then the new guys and the new team would come in and be tasked with setting up monitoring, and they would work on it for a couple of years, and then they would go somewhere else, or somebody would cut the funding. And at the end of 10 years, we wound up with 17 different ways of doing monitoring, 10 different major packages that we were using for monitoring, and lots of Unix guys and other guys writing their own scripts and paging themselves with their own scripts because monitoring stuff never worked. And we actually had a pretty good track record of keeping our systems up, but monitoring was a mess. It really was pretty scattered around. our strategy had been one monitoring tool to rule them all. And so we tried to go out and shop for, we're going to use Mercury SiteScope, or we're going to use HP OpenView, and we're going to come in with this one tool, and we're going to set up all of our monitoring on all of our systems and all of our countries in this one tool. That was our strategy, and that ultimately failed every time. We could not get everything into one tool, and it was just such a cumbersome big effort that it always ran out of gas. The latest one that we tried was multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars we were going to spend for fog light licenses with Quest, and we actually paid for consultants to come out, and we implemented. And at the end of the year, we finally had the system all put together to do the monitoring, and we started trying to add the monitoring stuff in there, and performance was bad. We had to, we went to the Quest guys, and they said, well, you need to do an upgrade. And we said, well, we just spent a year setting this all up. Said, yeah, you need to spend another year doing an upgrade. And we'll bring out, 4 weeks of consultants and do all of this. And we said, wait a minute, this is a little bit hard. And there was a lot of chat on the network, and a lot of CPU utilization on the servers when we put their clients out there, and we could only monitor what their clients had been programmed to monitor. It was a closed system. And the same thing was true with Mercury SiteScope. Basically, what they had determined you could monitor is what you could monitor, and that was it. It was pretty hard to do much else. And so we had lots of homegrown things that we did. We basically had a monitoring team that consisted of one person that was trying to accomplish this with each of these packages. And the last time before I got involved as an architect, the monitoring guy quit. Said, I got another job at another company. And so we stepped back and decided we were going to do a little planning, a little looking at it, and decide what we wanted to do instead of just saying, hey, we've got this system guy and we're going to throw some monitoring software at him and tell him to set up monitoring. I've talked about a lot of this stuff, but the proprietary tools that are out there have a huge learning curve and a big footprint. People that were successful with these other big tools typically had teams of 4 or 5 people working full-time on monitoring, and lots of servers and lots of money spent on monitoring. And we just didn't really see ourselves willing to commit that much. And the upgrades were very, very difficult and very expensive. And the system administrators, when I asked them about replacing monitoring with a new tool, they said, well, you can do what you want. We're going to keep doing our scripts that page us, and we know they work. And we don't really want to have, some black box that's going to take a lot of resources. We also had tried to make an operations team the clearinghouse for all warnings and alerts. The idea was that the centralized view of everything meant every alert, every warning, and every informational piece had to go to this team, and then they were supposed to parse through that and determine what was important and who needed to be contacted and contact them. And can you see how that might cause some problems? They were overwhelmed. There was thousands of pieces of information and warnings that just from our Oracle database systems alone, we generated 10,000 pieces of information in a week. And how can you take a junior help desk guy and train him how to parse through that and decide which things need to be, calling a DBA at 3 o'clock in the morning, and which things, if you call the DBA at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's going to yell at you and scream at you for what'd you call me for that for? And a couple of times of doing that, and they're pretty hesitant to call somebody at 3 in the morning. So we looked at our strategy and decided, something's got to give. At the start of our project, our users were a little bit unhappy. They were complaining that customers were calling our call center and telling us about our systems being down instead of monitoring telling us our systems were down. Now, if you remember, our goal was to find out about an outage before it actually became an outage and fix it before it became an outage, but we were not successful at that.